Hey guys, Monkey's Nuts Come here. This is going to be a little vlog about jobs and basically like how difficult it is nowadays to actually get a job. This can be down to a number of reasons. Can range from the sheer amount of people applying, all the way up to not enough people have applied, and then maybe the job is just dropped or something like that. Now, there's probably quite a lot of more younger than older viewers watching these videos, which will probably either know or will start to get into the struggle of actually finding a job. Now, you'll have a lot of people sort of like say that you've got to keep pushing and stuff like that, and that is true. You have got to keep pushing, especially if like they have actually contacted you. You don't necessarily have to push in terms of getting a response after you've applied for a position, but if say you've been directly contacted by the actual company, or if you've had an interview but just not heard anything back, then that's the type of thing that you need to be chasing up about, especially after you've just had an interview. Now, I'll get down to interviews in a minute, but first I just want to talk about actually finding a job, finding the right kind of job. Now, obviously, everyone's specific. You can have specific sort of like jobs that you like yourself and things like that. Everybody is sort of like got own preferences. Your job might depend on the career path that you're going down, the education that you've had, all kinds of things. And so yeah, basically, there's all kinds of different reasons why, like, certain jobs you'll go for, certain jobs you won't, that type of thing. Personally, I've got retail experience, I've got customer service experience, I've got construction, well, not really experience, but I've got construction knowledge, and sort of like, oh, I think my visor might be a bit broken. It went open a bit too much there then. I don't know. Oh, there you go. It's open a bit more now. Yeah, my specific career is civil engineering. However, I'm open to sort of like different things and stuff. So what I'm applying for is actually quite broad. I've also got like driving experience, like professionally driving type thing. So there's a wide range. No matter what kind of career or anything you've gone down, there's a large range of things for you to do, basically. And basically, it's dependent on what you want. There's a lot of jobs there that it's like genuine, like general like shop jobs type thing that'll be very sort of like very scarce in a way. But in a way, they do come quite like often. So there's normally plenty of jobs out there anyway for all kinds of people. But anyway, the sites that you should be looking for jobs on, personally, I would say are mainly the one that I mainly use, like every single night I'm on it, is Job Centre Plus. It's called Job Centre Plus, or it's called Job Seekers, but it's the government one basically. And then because jobs on there, basically some recruitment services use it, some companies use it directly, and then you might like find things on there. So I've always found that one the best rate basically. So yeah, basically that's the main one that I use. There are at least 200, 300 jobs put on there for my area anyway, every day. Some of these could have been repeated from sort of like previous days, or just like redone, so they're top of the list type thing, so people see them first. There's a lot of care jobs, a lot of there's a lot of quantity surveying jobs as well, actually, which I'm surprised at. But there's quite a large variety out there, and you have to be careful when you're going through them all, because you could miss one which might be the perfect one for you, basically. But it's, in terms of, if you find one, I mean, even if the description of it isn't quite the type of thing that you're wanting, but it is in the same kind of broad spectrum, you need to not be too specific, really. You need to broaden your mind a little bit more, and sort of if you can see that you might be able to develop into the role, or you might want to try something totally different that you haven't done before, that you think that you might be okay at, then you need to apply. I mean, just looking at jobs and things like that, I mean, job hunting itself, the term job hunting is finding a job that's right for you and then applying for it, not just going through loads of jobs and not applying for any, because that's not beneficial, that's not productive. You need to be applying for these jobs. Something smells of burning. Hope it's not my car. Oh, there's a construction site there, it might be that. So yeah, you need to be applying for jobs. I mean, every single night I'm applying for at least 20. And then it gets to the thing of hearing things back from jobs and from companies and stuff. 9 times out of 10, I don't get any response at all. And you need to prepare yourself for that. I mean, you can't just go along thinking, sort of worrying because they haven't contacted you or that kind of thing, because you're never going to get anywhere if you're constantly doing that. So I've got in a habit of, I mean, it basically, you could either just apply and leave the job and not chase them up, or you could apply and sort of chase every single one up. Now, nobody up the hill? No, there's no one up the hill. Now, chasing every single one up, that's just going to cause you a lot of hassle, and most people don't have time to do that. So I suggest applying for as many as you want. I mean, the more the better, basically, because the more chance that you've got of getting a job. But if you have a couple of favourites that you particularly like, I suggest just chasing them up. You don't have to chase up every single one, because you even if you chase it up, you still might not get a response. So I suggest you're very sort of specific with which ones you chase up and ignore and that type of thing. Now, if you do get a response from a company, most often it'll be, we've seen your application, it's being considered, would you be okay to come for an interview or something like that? Say yes. Obviously say yes. Why am I saying there's no reason for you to say no? There have been a couple of times I've changed my mind about a place I've applied for. Now, that has probably been my mistake, because you see, I've been contacted by a number of companies saying that they want me for an interview, and the one that I like more than the other, I've gone for an interview with, and then I've declined another one that I wasn't too keen on. and then you don't get the position, the job with the company that you want, and you could have possibly got one with the one that you didn't want to go with, if you understand what I mean. So these jobs that you're applying for, you need to keep in consideration. You can't just dismiss them if, like, you get a whiff that you might be getting a job in somewhere a bit better. You can't just like decline them straight away. It's better to sort of like get through the interview stages with all of them, really. And now the interview itself. Now there's a lot of sort of like people have difficulty with this bit mainly. Applying for jobs is like quite simple, anyone can do it. The interview is the bit that starts to get people. Personally, I get incredibly anxious when I'm going for a job interview. I start getting really hot, really sweating. I keep thinking that like I'm going to totally mess it up and sort of like not be able to answer any of the questions that they're going to ask me. I'm not going to know the answers. I'm going to basically sort of like, and I'm also worrying that I'm going to drop myself in it by saying something wrong or something that I perceive that's wrong. This isn't the case. I mean, the people who are interviewing, they understand that people are going to be anxious and a bit worried that they're not going to get the job. So that's why they sort of like, they try and make it a bit friendly. They try and like liven it up and make you a bit more comfortable in it. So that was a nice skyline. It's the interview bit. You should try and get yourself into the regime of not worrying about it, because if you can't start sort of like stressing about it, getting hot and bothered, they'll see, and then they can hear it in your voice and things like that. So I suggest just like calming yourself down a bit and sort of like taking a step back and just trying to relax. I mean, that's what I do now. I mean, most of the interviews that I go for now are sort of like, they're really friendly people. They have a bit of a joke around with you, that type of thing, and they're really nice and stuff. So interviews come with practice, basically. I suggest if like you're in a company, or say if you're at college or something like that, or school, I suggest having a mock interview with your tutor. It'll only take 5 minutes out of their day, so they won't be fussed about doing it. But we actually did interview techniques at college, which helps us because it sort of like gives an idea of what kind of questions they'll be asking and what kind of answers you need to prepare for and things like that. So that was quite helpful. But once you've got through the interview, some companies will ask you for a second interview. Some just think of an interview as like a meet and greet type thing, and sort of like basically where people get more comfortable with you and they just want to meet your face, that type of thing. Which way should I go? Oh, I'll go right. So yeah, basically the interview you should sail through. Everyone sort of like doesn't really have much of an issue with it. A few people do, but just try not to think about it too much. And yeah, after the first interview, you might get called back for a second interview. Second interview will normally be more formal because this is the one you will only ever have 2 interviews. You'll never have 3 or 4 or something like silly like that, because it doesn't work like that, basically. If it's a big company, you'll have one as like a primary interview with the staff that you'll be working directly with, just so they get to see you and know what you like and stuff, and then they put their recommendation forward towards their superiors. And then the second interview is normally with the director or the supervisor or the branch manager or someone like that, someone who sort of like makes the decision about whether or not you actually will get the job. And yeah, basically that's how the interview process goes. And obviously after the first or second interview, you'll then end up hearing back. Normally you'll hear back because of the few people that actually get the interview, because there's different processes of elimination basically for unsuitable people. The application process, where someone will go through all the applications and then they'll put quite a large bunch towards first interview, and then it dramatically cuts down to the second interview. Basically, well, alright, I can give you an example. I applied for a job for Christmas. Everyone, well, I think near enough everyone, went through the first interview stage, which was with the staff that you'd be working with. And roughly there were about 150 people who applied for the position. And that is a lot, basically, especially if like only one person's ever going to get the job. 150 people applying just for one position is a lot. However, in cities and stuff, you can get like 200, 300 people applying just for one position, so it's not uncommon. And me and 3 other people were chosen out of the 150 for a second interview with the director. Well, one of the directors of basically the company. I'm obviously not going to say the company for privacy reasons, and it's just confidentiality, it's just common sense. But no, it was me and 2 other people out of the 150 that were chosen for a second interview. Now, after the second interview, I didn't hear anything back. The mistake I probably made was not chasing it up. But the fact that I didn't hear anything back made me presume that they'd chosen someone else. What I probably should have done is just called and tried to get some feedback in relation to the actual interview. Because any feedback is good feedback, especially when it comes to jobs and things like that. So, he's on his phone. So yeah, basically try and get as much feedback from companies as possible. Even if you don't get the job, they will still be happy to like give you a bit, like speak to you for 5 minutes about the actual interview, and maybe they can explain why you didn't get the job and stuff like that. And I think that was maybe the downfall that I did. I because of the amount of jobs I apply for, I don't really chase any of them up. And yeah, so it's a good idea to chase the companies that you get somewhere with up, because it's always a good thing to do. So yeah, that's near enough it really. Some common points to point out, sort of like just to sum this video up, are apply for near enough every single job that is vaguely sort of like in your career spectre or in your prospects. Personally, I'm looking for something full-time and permanent. I'm not really fussed what it is. It's just that obviously with running a car, I could do with the money. I mean, yes, I am working at the moment, but not the hours that I need really. So it's just a matter of applying for things, chase up the ones that you like, and when it gets through to interview stage, just don't think of the interview as too too much of a daunting task, basically, because it's not really. An interview is, once you've done a couple of them, they get easier. First one is always sort of like a bit scary, but you need to sort of like be pushing forward for it, really. Not pushing forward for it, you just need to be more comfortable, basically. And then after you interview, chase them up a little bit, just not rudely, don't like pester them, just like ring up the main branch and just say, oh, hi, I had an interview, I just was wondering if, like, leave it. Normally, if you give it a generous sort of like 2 weeks, you should hear something back after in near enough of 1 week's time. But if you don't, then you need to be chasing it up. But apart from that, nothing really much else to say about job hunting, really. So I wish you all you guys luck, and hopefully you can find the right job that suits you, or a job that you like. Personally, I'm trying to open my eyes and sort of like, I'm having a look at jobs that just sound interesting, to be honest, that I might be able to give my hand to. And if the right conditions are there, don't sort of like, what am I trying to get at? What am I trying to say? Sometimes, I mean, it's always better to go employed other than self-employed. However, I better slow right down for this road, it's horribly bumpy. However, sometimes you can actually go employed. I applied for a job the other day, that was a self-employed vacancy. However, it was just self-employed via tax. So I would have to just declare my own tax. I would have to declare my earnings, and then I would just have to pay my own tax at the end of the year. But the actual position, I would get paid from a company for the hours that I do. However, the company would be paying me the actual amount. Like, everyone gets like a salary, so you might have, like, say if someone earns 20 grand a year, 5 grand of that, at least 5 grand, actually it's more like probably 8 or 9 to be honest, goes on tax. Now, if you're self-employed, I think you pay less tax, because you're technically working for yourself. You still have to pay national insurance, income tax, things like that. But it's not that bad, really. Which way am I going to go? I'll go right. Should I go right? No, I'll go left, actually. So yeah, and the only reason I'm considering that position is because the jobs are actually sourced through the company. I don't have to find my own work, so I wouldn't be out of work, basically, because that's what puts off quite a lot of self-employed people. The fact that you're gonna be out of work, and sometimes the work will just not appear, and you'll have like bills to pay and things like that. I wouldn't have that issue because I would be working for a company. So it's just a matter of sort of like finding the right job, really. But no, that's pretty much it. For self-employed, I'm just gonna have to declare my own tax, and everything like that, but it's really not an issue because I did a little tax calculator online, and it's not actually that bad. You know, that's what I hate about modern cars. That was a relatively new Audi A4. Now, the lights on the front, because you've got the LED lights, well, actually, he had his LED lights, and then he had his, I think his side lights on. He didn't have his main beam on, at dip beam. But because he had his LED lights on, the indicator bit on those Audis is very small. He was indicating right then, and I just could not see it unless I really, really looked for where his indicator is. It didn't like jump out at me. Like with mine's a relatively old car, so like my indicators are on the side of the cluster in a big clump, and you can see them quite well. And yeah, mine's alright, but the new ones, it's a pain in the arse. But yeah, I think I'm going to end this video here. Just thinking if I have a bump around one of these corners, there's someone in a 4x4 or something bombing it. Wee puddle. Oh, yep, there you go, 4x4. I'll have to go on this little muddy bank bit here. Oh. Had no traction then. That was a pain. I'll put my full lights on actually, just in case. So yeah, I hope people are liking the new camera. Personally, I find the nighttime footage a lot better. I have got 2 modes on it now, because basically with this new one, it's got a little switch on the back with sort of like 1 and 2 for 2 settings for videos basically. Now, standard, they're set to the 1080p and the 720p mode. Because I know for a full fact I'm not really going to use the 1080p. I only really ever use 720p because it's 60 frames a second and it's smoother video and it's quite nice. And it's good enough quality for me. Basically what I've done is I've got 2 settings. I've got a daytime setting, which I'm using now, which might look a little bit dark. And I also have a nighttime setting, which basically ups the exposure, ups the white balance, and everything late into night basically, and it gives it a better picture because it brightens it up. All I've got to keep doing is remembering to change it, because quite often I've changed it to night mode at the end of the day, and I've been filming at night, and then I've gotten home and just totally forgot that it was on night settings, set off the next morning, and it's still been in night mode, and everything brightens right up. I mean, at night time it's hard to see the difference, but like if I turn it off now, and then let's stop, because people will start saying, oh, you shouldn't be doing that when you're driving. Right, we go at the back of it. If I change it to night mode, close it, do that, turn it, angle it right, turn it on. Now you see, it'll be very bright. What I wanted to do with this video really was to ideally have this camera on the side of my head, but take the footage from it and take the footage from the new camera, overlay that on the sound. So basically the sound from the old Contour 2 is the sound for the whole video. Now, the editing software that I use is Windows Movie Maker, and when you put a video into it, it puts just the video with the sound in. You can't separate them. If I can do that on Windows Movie Maker and someone watching this knows how to, please just comment or like message me directly via my Facebook page, and then sort of like I'll be really grateful if you could. Yeah, sorry, I've got a bit of burpy hiccup things. Oh, what's down there? Oh, it's a dead end. Well, there's a car coming up there as well, so it'll really dodgy me going down there with the helmet on. but basically now I can't do it like that. So what I'm going to have to do, the footage from a new camera I'm not going to use that much, but I'm only going to use it the odd time. So it's a bit of a pain because the sound quality is not as good, but that's why I'm trying to speak up a bit more so that that camera can actually pick up my voice. I'll see if I can play around with the settings when I get home and try and improve it a bit. I'm going to pull over and change the camera back to normal because it's not going to be very pleasant to watch. So back to 1, daytime. There we go. Oh, that was bumpy. So yeah, that's pretty much been it for this video. This has been Monkey'sNutsCom, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.